Hey guys, Extra here, and we are back on CarX Street for yet another day and another video. And as promised, I'm bringing you guys some C6 tunes. I've got two of them for you today. One is this FD RX7, which is a prototype setup, and then I also have a non-prototype setup on an R35 GTR, which works out really well because that GTR being heavier and higher power is going to be way better for club races and not getting passed on the straights. So if you don't actually have the currency or the prototype parts to build this FD RX7 here, that R35 is probably going to be better suited for you anyway. So these cars were built specifically for the current C6 time attack, which is this one up here, which has 2 days left on it, or 1 day and 21 hours, sorry. And it actually rewards a mystery car. So definitely get onto this leaderboard, try one of these builds out and snag yourself a top 250 time, because these mystery cars, even if you do get the car and you don't like it, they hold quite a bit of value. I've seen people selling them on Discord, in Discord communities. You pink slip the car to someone else and they give you 1,000 street coins, even more than that sometimes, depending on the car. So even if you get this car and you hate it, sell it and build a car that you really want. So anyway, this is, as you can see, a top 5 time. It was in second place, but as you can see, there's quite a lot of people doing this time attack, and I'm not using the tractor build. So all of the other cars in this top 10, as far as I'm aware, are using the tractor build. And on this track, using a tractor build gains you about 2.5 to 3 seconds. So I'll let you do the math on that, on where I should actually be on this leaderboard. And the guy in first place is cheating, I'm pretty sure. No one's ever heard of him, and we've all spoken about it. And Direx has confirmed that he thinks that guy is cheating. So this is actually a 4th place build, and it could go a lot faster. Like I said, if you did the tractor build, you'd probably gain 2 seconds just by putting the big tires on, and it would bump it straight up into second place. But I am not about that. I don't agree with it, and I don't think you should do it either, because you can be competitive without it, and I think it's stupid and should be removed from the game. So I'm not going to teach you how to do it. If you want to learn how to do that, go check some other YouTube channels, because I'm not going to do it. Anyway, without further ado, I will show you the best time that I set in this FD, and you'll be able to see the difference of how quick this FD is in the corners and how much you lose on the straights because of the big tires on the back of these other cars. And just as I've said before, I actually don't really do C6 time attacks or C6 tuning in general. And it's because in the lower classes, you can actually get away without doing this tractor build trick and really abusing the physics of the game. But as you go up in classes and up in power, the tractor tires make a bigger and bigger difference. So the disparity between a normal car like this one and a tractor built car, like you're going to see in this time attack, the higher class you go, the bigger the difference between the two cars is. So in like C3 and C4, it's not a massive difference, but C5 and up, it's seconds, like multiple seconds over the course of a time attack, which is why I don't really enjoy doing these ones. But you guys kept asking, and I really want to help you guys get your clubs done and build up some currency. So I'm going to share these tunes with you, and I've gone through the suffering of trying to place in these time attacks all for you. So I hope you like it. Drop your likes and drop your comments. It all helps out. And without further ado, here is my time attack run. And we come across the line. This one actually put me into second place at the time that I did this run with a 101.0 099 right behind Digerex. And now here is the guide. So of course, shift into first whilst that's counting down. Don't hit your NOS straight away. Let the tires grip, then hit the NOS. And you can see right here what I'm talking about, these tractor tires. Digerex's R33 just takes off into the distance, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you copy the disgusting, ugly builds that they use. Anyway, cut across the grass here on the left to open up this first corner, and then cut right across the grass. Don't get too close to the trees. There is a bump, and then just stay as close to the walls as you possibly can here, and keep your line nice and clean to get onto the throttle early here. Line up really far left. You want to cut across here. You can actually go through that rock, but it's a little risky. And then here on this left hand hairpin, get the car to rotate and hook the wheels in the gutter to pull you around the corner, all the way out to the right side of the track to set up for this next turn. Get as close to the rock as you can. If you hit it and then cut too far on the inside of that checkpoint, it will reset you. Then all the way out to the left here, full speed here. Then wait until you're going straight, hit the NOS, don't go too far to the left of that checkpoint, you'll get reset. And then coming into this corner here, cut across this grass to open up this next turn, hook your wheels in this gutter here to help you turn. And then you can do the same thing here. You can cut a little bit, but it's risky. Then hook the gutter again for this right hand turn, and then set up for this braking zone here right as the track kinks to the left there. You want to be hard on the brakes, then aim for this inside gutter here. Hook it in and it will help pull the car around. And then you want to set up on the very left of the track here all the way into this dip off the road, and then aim again for that inside gutter to hook the car around this corner, and stay as far right as you can to set up for this next left. Cut across the dirt here, and then set up across the dirt again here, full nitrous. Try and keep the car as straight as possible and NOS to the line. All right, so now that you know how to drive the track, here is the tune to make it possible. So as I said before, this FD is actually the prototype build. So if you don't have access to prototype parts and heaps of street coins to be able to do all these crazy engine swaps, definitely just skip forward to the R35 GTR. I would especially recommend that if you haven't finished all of the clubs, because that one's going to help you more so getting the club races done and getting the elite races done. But if you do want a competitive, very high investment build, and this car can also be tuned down to C5 or tuned up, whatever you want. This car's very potent. This is actually the exact same tune I use in C4, the same suspension setup. This was a Togo car, and I've converted it into a time attack car. So very, very, very diverse. You can use this car for all kinds of stuff. So great use of your coins if you do want to build this. But anyway, let's get straight into it. So for our engine setup here, we obviously have the RDA engine swap, which is the one from the Ford Focus. This is my favorite engine swap to use for these time attack cars. It's very light and it has a great power curve. The other good one is the K20 from the new gen Civic. They're very comparable, very similar, but my favorite one's the Focus. It's just a little bit lighter. And as you can see here, we are all prototype except we are running a stock turbo. I was running prototype turbo with all the parts tuned down, but I just found that it was a bit faster having the stock turbo with the lower turbine pressure, which gives you a little bit less of a turbo lag and makes it a little bit easier to drive, because there's some heavy braking zones on this track, and I was finding that the car was bogging down a bit and wasn't accelerating as much, as well as putting this big turbo on actually increases your weight by 11 kilos. So I just went with a stock turbo to keep it as light as I possibly could and keep that turbo lag down. And then everything is tuned all the way up and our turbine pressure is at 0.42 just to really top it out in that class. Moving on, we have our drivetrain here. So we have the T50S gearbox swap, which we use in all of our time attack cars because it's the best gearbox. We have prototype clutch, ultimate differential, prototype gearbox, and we are running this in all-wheel drive, of course. The prototype clutch obviously doesn't matter if you're running manual with clutch, but buy it anyway because it's a nice quality of life thing to have. And in here we are running a very specific differential setup to get this car to rotate while still maintaining as much on throttle grip as possible. This time attack is very, very high speed with a couple of tight corners, which is why we are running the really high lock on the acceleration lock on the diffs to give us the most grip in those high speed sections. But running very low deceleration lock to make sure when we slow the car down, we can get it turning whilst we're braking into these really, really tight hairpins. But if the car does get a little bit unstable under braking, but there's only a couple of these corners on this track, so it doesn't matter as much. Of course, it's a time attack, so you can just keep restarting. Doesn't matter if you mess up. And then I'll scroll down here to my gear ratios. Pause the video here so you can copy these down. Not really much of a logic behind this. I was just doing runs down the highway and runs on the time attack and really just dialed these in so you get that little speed boost that I've spoken about when you shift gears, and then obviously minimum drivetrain loss as well. Now let's go into the body section here. We are running maximum weight reduction, no fuel tank with the weight reduction glitch, which if you don't know how to do, buy the weight reduction part first, tune it all the way down, then buy the body swap stage 4, and it'll let you adjust your weight lower than if you didn't. We are running prototype front aero and just street rear aero. I would run no rear aero, but it has some high speed corners on this track that are actually a bit bumpy. So having this one step of rear aero really helps keep the car stable in those areas. I was finding the rear end was sliding out without it. So ideally you would not use this, but I think it's a bit necessary on this track. And we'll go into the tuning there as well, and you'll be able to see the weights all the way down. Weight distribution 46.6 puts it at a perfect 50-50. Center of mass all the way down. Max front aero, lowest air resistance, and that rear aero cannot be tuned, obviously, because it's only the first part. We are running ultimate. To be honest, this area doesn't really matter if you have prototype or not, other than the brakes. Everything else is kind of the tuning ranges. Like the tune is set in the middle, kind of, so it doesn't matter. You can do this with ultimate stuff. But we are running ultimate arms, prototype anti-roll bars, prototype brakes, prototype springs, ultimate dampers. But you'll see here in the tuning menu, you can achieve this without any of the prototype parts. They don't really make a big difference, other than the brakes, of course, for having the increased braking force. So I'll just leave this on the screen here for a second so you can copy it down. Of course, this is a very high-speed track, so we are running a fair bit of caster on this build, and we are running a very stiff rear end to keep it stable in those high-speed corners. And the low stiffness on the front anti-roll bar helps with the turn-in. If you find the car too twitchy, increase the front anti-roll bar stiffness, and it'll make the car feel a little bit smoother in turn-in, which might make it a little bit more friendly to drive, but it will make it harder to get around those tight corners on this track. And we'll bring this down here, only running one little bump of wheel toe down, so negative 0.05, just to help with the turn in a little bit, because I like my cars quite pointy. And then here is our damper setup and our braking setup. Again, there's not really a huge amount of logic behind this. I just messed around with these for probably like 3 or 4 hours to get these into a good spot to make this car competitive against all of the meta abusing cars. And they're actually in a really, really good spot. This car handles incredibly. So if you need any more time to copy these down, pause the video, and then we'll go into our wheel setup. Of course, we are running ultimate spacers. We have 305 19s in the front, 345 19s in the back, and we are running Racing Plus 5 on both. I've been experimenting a bit with smaller wheels on the front, as well as running lower pressures in the front. It seems like it gains some time in some circumstances. I think most of the time it's probably going to be better to run maximum pressure in the front still. But in these higher classes, it feels like it makes the cars handle a little bit nicer. And the front wheels being skinnier actually seems to help the car feel like it's not as heavy. I still need to do some more experimenting, so don't take my word on it. I would still probably across the board, if you're building cars, still put the maximum wheels on, still do the maximum pressure. But there seems to be some weird interaction between track width, tire pressure, and wheel width that's happened since this last update. I'm looking into it, and if the information needs to be updated, I'll make a video on that specifically. So anyway, that's the build for this RX7. Give this one a go. Let me know in the comments if you try it out and how you find it. You could probably replicate this build in some description with ultimate parts if you specifically wanted to use the FD RX7. I'm not exactly sure how you do it. You'd probably have to run this car a lot heavier, which is going to negatively impact the handling. But if you do that, yeah, let me know down in the comments how this car treats you. And now we're going to jump straight into the R35 GTR. And here is my time attack run that I got with that one as well. And then once we've watched that, we're going to hop straight into the tune for that car. All right, and now here is the ultimate parts tune for this R35. As you can see here, we are not running an engine swap. We are using the stock RV38, which is the motor that comes in this car, so no need to use your street coins on that. And in here, we are running the racing ECU, stock, ultimate intake manifold, stock fuel system, and then ultimate everything else down from there. So cylinder head, engine block, and the exhaust components all ultimate. And within here, we are running these tuning settings. So we have the rev limiter maxed out, torque at low, torque at medium, and peak RPM all maxed out. And then the turbine pressure just at 0.89 to top out this car in its class. From there, we will go into the gearbox setup here, T50S of course, and then ultimate everything, and the car's obviously all-wheel drive already. Then here is our differential setup, similar kind of thing, but this car being a bit heavier, we have to run a little bit different of a differential setup to get it to turn, and even still, it's a little bit stubborn. You would have seen in the run that I did on the hairpin at the start of the track, actually had to drift around that corner a little bit and drop the wheels in the gutter to really get it to get around that corner quickly. But this setup works really, really well, and it's actually quite easy to drive. But you do have to keep in mind this car is significantly heavier than that RX7, so you have to drive it like it's heavier. I'll scroll down here so you can get the gear ratios as well, and if you need more time to copy these down, just pause the screen here and I'll move on. And then of course, minimum drivetrain loss as always. And then here is our body setup. Again, this is using the weight glitch, same as the other one. I don't have to explain it again. We are using ultimate, weight reduction, stock fuel tank, ultimate aero, street aero again for the same reason as the FD. And then this is the weight setup in this car. It's very, very front heavy, so you want to push the weight to the back as far as possible. And then everything else just minimum except the front aero. Of course, you want to max that out. And here is our suspension setup. We are running everything as ultimate. And here are the settings for this car here. So this is a much more min-max style setup. It's a little bit harder to fine tune these heavier cars, and I'm not entirely sure why, but this works really, really well for this car. It should be really easy for you guys to copy down. Similar kind of anti-roll bar setup if you want it to be a little bit more pointy. Again, soften up that front anti-roll bar. It's going to turn in a little bit easier. And we'll scroll down here. Same with the wheel toe. You can add just a touch of negative toe to give it that initial turn-in response. Then we'll scroll down here to our damper and our brake setup. Again, it's actually quite similar to the FD. I really like my dampers to be somewhere in this range, looking like this. Not too sure why, just works. Like I said, with the dampers on these time attack cars, you just kind of throw stuff at the wall and you see what sticks, and this is what sticks. This has been a tune that I've been using for a very long time. I made it in collaboration with Dribbles way back in the day, and this car's always been delivering the goods, and I've just updated a little bit for this new update. So we'll get now into the wheels. Of course, ultimate spacers. We are running 325/21s with 345/21 rear, and then racing +5 front and back. And here is our spacer and tire pressure setup. I'm running the +3 front and back on this one. And again, you can see with the wheel offsets, narrow in the front, help the car turn in and rotate. And that is the entire build guide here for this car. So let me know if you try this one out in the comments, and if this one helps you get your club races done and your elite races done, let me know. And let me know if there's anything about this car that you don't like, and I'll try and help you out in the comments to fix the handling for you so it's a little bit friendlier to drive, because this is very tailored towards time attacks. Well, that has been me for today. I hope you guys enjoy these C6 builds. I know you've been asking for them heaps, and you guys are struggling to get some of the higher end clubs done, so I really hope these builds help you out, and you guys can finish up your clubs and start grinding out those elite races and getting all of your amazing rewards. And if you do compete in these time attacks, especially this mystery car one, let me know down below how you go. I can't actually see the Xbox leaderboards because turns out they're not crossplay. So let me know how the Xbox leaderboards are going for you in the comments. Give the video a like if this build helped you, if either of them helped you, or if both of them. Maybe you build both of them. That would be awesome. It all helps out, helps the algorithm, helps my videos get out there more. So you know what to do. I'll be coming out with some more videos very shortly. I am working on a tuning guide that will cover all types of builds, and I've actually been developing a tool using ChatGPT that you guys will be able to use in order to tune your cars. I've just been training it and feeding it a bunch of tuning logic, and it's been in the testing phase now for a couple of weeks, and I've had a few people trying it out for me, and the results are looking really good. So hopefully I can make a video very soon and share that with you guys, as well as I'm working on a guide to the Drift King leaderboards and just some more toge and drift builds in general. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that. I hope you enjoy these builds. You can also use these in other classes, by the way. This RX7, like I said, comes from a C4 tune. This suspension setup is very good. So you can tune these cars down and use them in open lobbies and toge and things like that. All right, guys, hope you enjoy the cars. Hope what I've told you today has been helpful. Do your thing down in the comments for the algorithm, and have a wonderful day.